Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nellie. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you stay a while. I've been having such a good reading month. Honestly, such a good reading month. I'm making such progress on my physical TBR as well. And I kind of reached a point where I'm like, I don't know what to read next, so I decided to put that in the hands of you lovely people. I posted a poll over on my community page letting you guys know that I was kind of torn between my next reads. And it was a really close race between the top two books, but we did have a winner. I went to the bookstore and grabbed the book that you guys picked. So let's see which one that was. Is this not the most beautiful cover? I think this is such a fun cover for summer. And I honestly have heard nothing but great things about this book. I am really loving shorter reads, so I was really grateful that this one is pretty short. I want to say it's just under 300 pages. This actually might be one of my favorite cover buys recently, and I do feel like it's kind of interesting because it's so plain, but I feel like it's also so effective. I love like the unfolded paper look on this. I love the colors, and it just feels so summer, so now, and also 90s at the same time. I've heard really good things and good reviews about this book, specifically that it has a really good representation of somebody who has OCD, anxiety, and is kind of just working through that in her 20s. And I'm really excited to get into this book and see what I think about it, especially since you guys picked it out for me. I think it's the perfect morning to go to a coffee shop and read. One of my kids has a birthday party, so I'm gonna go drop her off, and then me and my son are gonna go. It's my favorite coffee shop, and they have a fun little kids corner that my son loves, so maybe we'll be able to get some reading in while we're there. And then I'll be able to give you guys a better update once I'm actually in the book and can tell you more about what it's about. So you guys have picked the book, and now it's time to figure out if you guys have good taste or not. Guys, I'm finally back with a reading update. It feels like so long since I've updated you, even though that was just this morning. I was definitely planning on updating you as soon as I got home from the coffee shop, but just life happened. But I realized that I never showed you guys my outfit because I specifically dressed to match the cover vibes. So here is the full fit. I just went with my trusty overalls because I wanted to match the blue color, and I felt like it matched pretty well. Then I just had this pink bubble top, which I love underneath this, but I never know if it's supposed to be tucked in or not. But you guys tell me, matches the vibe. Update on how the book's going though. So far, I'm loving it. I've already had a few moments that have made me chuckle, which I love in a romance book. I think it has a lot of heart, but I think even more than the romance though, what I'm really liking is the almost awkward, raw look into Phoebe's life and what it's like to live with OCD, anxiety, especially intimacy anxiety, and also to be somebody that's nearing their 30th birthday and they haven't been able to accomplish all the things that they wanted to. She is so desperate, and when I say desperate, I don't mean it in a bad way, but she really just at her core really want to be loved. She wants that love story. She wants that family. She's a preschool teacher. She's so good with kids, and she's seeing her younger sister, who's 22, getting engaged, falling in love, and she's about to be married. And so it's really making Phoebe kind of go into this tailspin of just wanting to get past her intimacy anxiety so that she can, because in her mind, that is what's going to help her be able to have a relationship with somebody and be able to find the person that she loves. And so she's kind of gotten her friends in on this, and she has this list that she wants to accomplish that she thinks if she does the things on this list, she'll be able to overcome her intimacy anxiety before she's 30. I loved the author's note at the beginning of it where we just get to see how personal this story is to the author, to Brooke Averick, but she specifically talked about how she wanted to see more stories about girls like her who had crippling anxiety before dates, who would literally throw up before them or have to cancel because they were too anxious, and how as she started to write this book, she kind of realized why people don't write about it, and it's because it's not really something that you can fantasize, it's not something you can romanticize, it's awkward and it's not really comfortable to experience, much less to read about. But I'm having a really great time. It's cool because Phoebe, as she's trying to do this checklist, which she thinks is going to help her, she's meeting different guys and she's got all these different options. But at the same time, it's just so funny because one thing that I do connect with her is it talks about when she was a child, how she just fell in love so many times. Almost what gave her life meaning was just being in love with the different boys as she was growing up. And I feel like that's so relatable as a girl, to just grow up and just like kind of be boy crazy and have all these crushes, and they almost seem safe because they're not going anywhere. So yeah, I am really, really liking it. I'm on page 75. And I feel like it's reading very quickly. I actually think that even though it's obviously later in the day, I feel like if I had just sat down, I probably could have binged this in a sitting and maybe been done with it in, I don't know, less than 3 hours if I sat down. I'm loving it. Again, something about the cover really is just making me happy. I feel like when I see the cover, it's just really scratching an itch in my aesthetic brain, I guess. I don't know, I just love it. But I'm excited to see where it goes. I think I know where it's going in my mind, but I also feel like even though this is a romance, and even though obviously it is romantic, the topic of it, of her wanting to be able to have a relationship, it's really a lot more about a coming of age story almost, of a girl who struggles with self-confidence, OCD, anxiety, her mental health, and I just feel like it's really relatable. I definitely want to read some more tonight. I have access to the audiobook, and I was just thinking about something I haven't done in a long time, which is play Tiny Bookshop. I was not somebody who was really ever allowed to have video games growing up, but I always wanted to as a kid. When I went to my friend's house and I saw them playing either computer games or video games or whatever it was, I thought it would be so fun to do. And so that's something kind of new that we've been doing as a couple and things like that. And it's so funny because growing up, I thought that would be so weird. I'm like, no, people who game together, like, that's just not me. And now I'm just eating my words because I feel like it's so fun to be able to have something to do with your significant other or even by yourself that's not necessarily watching TV, because I feel like I'm kind of out of my TV era and I just either read or I watch YouTube. But sometimes I get so overwhelmed by all the choices on YouTube that I'm just like, I am scrolling for 20 minutes and then I just end up turning it off because I haven't found anything. So I haven't played it in so long, so I think it could be fun to maybe play while I'm listening to the audiobook. We'll see, question mark, but I definitely want to get some more reading done tonight. It's the next day, and I have a little less than 80 pages left of Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It. I'm having a really great time with this book. I do feel like I made a mistake that I hate when I make, which is not listening to a sample of the audiobook before I use a credit on it. I normally try to always do that, and this time I didn't. I believe that this one, I want to say, is narrated by the author, which I will double check that and put it on the screen if I'm wrong. But I feel like I'm not super connecting with the audiobook narrator. I think that there is a little bit of storytelling that is missing just with the narrator, or at least something that's making like me not connect with it. So I feel like I didn't last very long in just listening to it, and I had to end up going back to physically read it with my eyeballs, which is totally fine. I feel like this is a very easy book to want to pick up. I feel like the way that the writer writes this is really made to, honestly, in my opinion, you could be read in a sitting or just be read over like a span of 2 days. I'm really, really having a great time with it. I also think this would be a really, really good poolside read. I am really loving seeing all of the options that Phoebe is having, going from having no options to 3 different men that she can't stop thinking about. I'm not going to spoil who she's going to end up with after I read it. I'm going to keep this spoiler free, but the person that I'm rooting for, I think is going to be her best friend. But that's just because I love friends to lovers. But I will say at the same time, so far in the book, and again, I only have a little over 80 pages left, I don't have any reasons to not like her other 2 choices, and I think that that is really making it hard to pick between, and I like that because I think sometimes authors can really give away who the person they're going to end up with is, and who knows, maybe she doesn't end up with any of them and just like comes to love herself more. But I do really like all of our love interests for different reasons, really picturing them in my head. And if you've read this book, I really want to know who you're picturing, because I'm kind of picturing like a young Hugh Dancy as the school teacher. I don't know why, but he just popped in my head as soon as we started this book, and I don't normally picture in my head, but I'm going with it, and I just love that. It does very much feel like it could be early 2000s, and maybe that's why I'm picturing him, because he's definitely much more of like a 2000s heartthrob, but it's just making it fun. I do really love Phoebe's innocence in this, because even though she's about to turn 30, because she doesn't have any relationship experience, I think that the author's really bringing an innocence to her that actually does feel believable in certain things. Like, she's so obsessed and infatuated with these people, and probably the reason why they all seem perfect is because we're kind of in her mindset, in her head, and you just kind of have to put yourself in the position of when you were first having crushes on people and you were overlooking their flaws and you were just so all in with these people, like just romanticizing how they were going to be your person or whatever. And so it is really fun. It almost makes it feel nostalgic because of that, and I'm really enjoying it. But I am going to spend some time reading. I'm determined to finish this today because I honestly think in one more sitting I could finish it. So excited to see the ending. I just cannot wait to know who she's going to end up with and like how everything's going to play out, what her anxiety and her OCD is going to look like in the future, like what's resolved in this book and what stays unresolved. And yeah, we'll see where we go from here. Wow, guys, I was so wrong. So wrong. And I feel like the author, Brooke Averick, she totally got me. She totally got me because I thought that the book was going in a certain direction, but then we ended up switching it up and going into another direction, which I'm not mad at. She really threw me a curveball. Like, I'm just thinking of what I said to you guys literally yesterday, and I'm like, I was so off. And I appreciate that, especially in a novel like this where it's definitely character driven and we're getting a lot of Phoebe and then also her interactions with her friends. And I want to say too, obviously a big part of this plot is romance. I feel like because I've read so much, rarely does a romance book, I feel like, actually surprise me. So props to her for that. I am really satisfied with the way that this ended. I'm really happy with the relationship that she decided to pursue. I like them for each other. I was really wanting our female main character, Phoebe, to have growth because throughout the book, she is noticing as her friends are bringing it up to her, kind of how selfish she's been, how she's so wrapped up in herself. And I do think that the anxiety and the OCD definitely contributes to that. I don't think it's totally her fault for being so self-absorbed. I think that her different compulsions with specific things really require a lot of her energy. So I think that's an interesting note. Because yes, she was being selfish in a lot of her friendships. Her friends were really needing her and she was really just so consumed with her own list. But that's kind of the part of having OCD. You're having these obsessive, compulsive thoughts. And so I just think that that's really interesting. She was bugging me as well in certain parts, but I'm like, wait, this is probably really true to somebody who does struggle with OCD in this way. I liked the exploration and the growth that we did see from her with that, especially with her friendships. I was happy with her just realizing areas that she needed to improve. Truthfully, areas that she needed to improve, because I fell in love with her friends in this. I loved the sense of found family, how they all rooted for her, the relationship that they all had with her. It didn't end up being a 5-star for me, it wasn't quite perfect for me. And I think I just have one small little thing because, again, I just really enjoyed this book. I feel like I'm going to rate it quite highly. I definitely would recommend it to a specific kind of a person who I really think that would appreciate this. But I honestly think that anybody would definitely enjoy this book. It's very short, it's very bingeable. Like I said, it'd be really good to read by the pool. But I think my one small gripe is that after we had a very climactic moment within this book that changed the way that you knew that the story was going to end and really made it unpredictable. But after, I just felt because of that moment, she a little too quickly turned to a different relationship and was just like, oh, like that means it's this person, or now I'm just going to go give it my all with this person. And I wanted her to sit with herself a little bit more. And yes, she does have that growth. And towards the end, we really see her understand that she doesn't need to put so much pressure on herself and she needs to give herself time and everyone's on their own timeline. But she didn't do that by herself. She did that in the midst of jumping into another relationship. Do I think this relationship was right for her? Yes, I think that this relationship could work. Might even go as far as saying maybe he was the perfect guy for her. But I also just want to say that that was my one worry with this whole thing is I'm like, okay, so we talked about her problems with jumping into relationships and easily falling in love. I don't even want to say it's a problem, but she did obsess over relationships in her mind, these kind of almost made up relationships in her mind with specific people. She's done that since she was a girl. I feel like that's very, very common in younger girls, and that continued with her as she grew up just because of her personality and her mental health and things like that. And so I felt a little bit rushed in her immediately going into this other relationship, no matter how right this guy was. I kind of wanted her to sit and have all of these realizations just with herself and not even technically be in a relationship with a person. I think there's an aspect obviously talked about her understanding like there's no pressure and she can take it slow with whoever she picks, and she does. And I just want to say too, I understand that, but I think that's just for me like a little note I would have with this book is I wanted her to be able to explore this idea of being on her own timeline and taking it slow and being kind to herself on her own. Does that make sense? But overall, I really enjoyed this book. I think you guys have great taste. Thank you for recommending this to me. And it made me more excited to continue this series of having you guys pick a book for me every month and just going to grab it with you guys, reading it with you guys, telling you my full thoughts. It almost feels like we're having a book club. You know what I mean? Even though I don't have a book club. But let me know if you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you want to see more. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave me a cherry emoji for this beautiful, gorgeous cover. And thank you guys for being here. And thank you for making it to the end of this video. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a thing, because next month I'm doing a very big challenge. I'm not going to say it yet, but you guys are going to want to stick around for this one in preparation for the following month, which is going to be my birthday month, and there might be some book shopping there. So that's all I'm going to say, but thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!